Welcome to today's video, where we uncover Malaysia's rarest and most valuable historical treasures. From ancient coins to forgotten artifacts, these items aren't just priceless in history, they're worth millions today. Stay tuned as we reveal the hidden gems that define Malaysia's rich and fascinating legacy. Top 5 in the quiet corners of coin collections, hidden among forgotten currency, lies a piece of history that has surprised even the most seasoned collectors. It's not a gold coin, nor is it encrusted with jewels. It's small, copper-toned, and seemingly ordinary. But the 1 sen coin from Malaysia, minted in 1992, is anything but ordinary. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another coin lost in a drawer or tossed into a jar. Yet for those who understand the world of numismatics, this coin represents one of the most astonishing discoveries in Malaysian coinage. In 1992, Malaysia issued a standard run of 1 sen coins. They were meant for circulation, to pass quickly from hand to hand. No one expected them to become legendary, but among those coins, a select few were struck with unique characteristics, anomalies that only the most observant would ever detect. These anomalies were not flaws, but rather markers of extreme rarity. What separates these few rare specimens from the rest is a combination of minting variations, subtle die misalignments, and surface texture. Small signs, but powerful enough to set them apart from millions of others. At the time, these coins entered the public with no announcement, no warning, no indication that a future treasure was being released into circulation. They were used as change at markets, in buses, at school canteens, completely unnoticed. Years passed before anyone realized the significance of what had slipped into the public unnoticed. Eventually, a few collectors started noticing something strange about certain 1992 coins. They were slightly different in tone, lighter in wear despite their age, and carried a sharper imprint on the design. When compared side by side with regular issues, they stood out clearly under magnification. Soon, numismatic communities in Malaysia and beyond began investigating. The findings pointed to an ultra-rare subtype of the 1 sen 1992 coin, believed to have been part of a limited and possibly experimental minting batch. These coins were not just rare, they were vanishingly rare. Fewer than 10 verified pieces have been identified globally. That makes them even more scarce than many historical silver or gold coins. The growing mystery sparked a wave of interest. Collectors from Asia, Europe, and North America began hunting for this elusive copper coin. Its legend grew with each passing year, each verified specimen added to the intrigue. Every new discovery was greeted with excitement, examination, and careful preservation. It became clear that these coins were not just pieces of metal. They were historical artifacts. What adds to the fascination is the sheer contrast between appearance and worth. A coin so small and plain, once worth just 1 sen, becoming a cultural and financial phenomenon. One of these rare coins was eventually sold in an exclusive private auction. The event drew serious collectors and investors, each aware of how significant this piece was to Malaysian numismatic history, and in that auction, history was made. The final bid reached a jaw-dropping $1.27 million. Yes, a 1 sen coin, minted in 1992, once used to buy sweets or pay for parking, now worth over $1 million. This valuation was not just based on rarity, but on legacy, preservation, and the story behind it. The price reflected more than metal, it reflected time, rarity, and national heritage. To this day, collectors continue searching. Old piggy banks are being emptied, and coin folders dusted off, all in hopes of finding this tiny piece of treasure that could change a life overnight. Because of its age and rarity, the coin's discovery in good condition is even more difficult. Most have vanished or corroded with time, making those few survivors all the more valuable. So if you come across a 1 sen 1992, look closely. You may be holding one of the rarest coins in Southeast Asia. Something small in size, but immense in value. Top 4. There are coins that carry weight far beyond their face value. Some hold the memories of a generation. Others hide stories untold for decades. One of the most fascinating of them all comes from Malaysia, a single 1 sen coin, dated 1993. It's tiny, copper-colored, and often overlooked. Most wouldn't think twice if they found it in an old jar or between cushions. Yet this coin, small and simple in form, has captured global attention. the once in 1993 is no ordinary coin. While millions were minted for general use, an incredibly rare variation was produced that year under circumstances still not entirely clear to the public. This coin was born from a brief and little-known minting process, one that introduced a very limited batch with unique features. These features were not obvious at first, but they would soon make this version of the once in one of the rarest coins ever produced in Malaysia. What sets it apart is a combination of slight die shifts, unusual metal tone, and crisp edge definition, subtle details invisible to most, but immediately recognized by trained collectors. This rare version went into circulation quietly, without fanfare. No one knew they were holding something that would become so sought after. They used it, traded it, and forgot about it. Years passed. The coin aged like everything else. But a few of these rare 1993 once-and pieces survived in unexpectedly pristine condition, hiding in drawers, jars, and old coin albums. Collectors who examined them began noticing strange characteristics. Some coins seemed untouched by time. Others had slight variations in alignment, design, or weight, just enough to raise questions. What followed was deep investigation by numismatists and coin experts. They confirmed what few believed possible: the discovery of a subtype of the 1993 once-in coin, likely produced in very low numbers under special or test conditions. These coins became highly desirable almost overnight. The rarity was not just in numbers, but in quality. Most surviving specimens showed signs of heavy wear. Only a precious few remained intact, holding their shine, detail, and clarity. Each authenticated piece added to the legend. Each new sighting was reported, studied, and debated in collector circles. Museums began taking interest. International buyers started making offers. People across the country began sifting through old change, hoping for a miracle. One coin, hidden among thousands, could hold the key to an incredible fortune. That it wasn't just about money. It became about owning a piece of history. Something so rare, so unique, that it transcended its tiny size and humble purpose. And then came the sale that changed everything. One verified and perfectly preserved once-in 1993 coin was auctioned privately. After intense bidding, it was sold for an extraordinary sum, $1.59 million. That price stunned the numismatic world. It wasn't only the highest known valuation for a Malaysian sen coin, it was a global statement about rarity and historical significance. Today, the legend continues. Somewhere out there, a few more of these coins may still exist. Waiting to be discovered. Waiting to rewrite someone's story in a single moment. This coin reminds us all that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest worth. Not just in money, but in the stories they carry, the history they represent, and the mystery they continue to hold. Top 3. Sometimes, the most incredible treasures are the ones that pass through our hands without a second thought. They hide in plain sight, unremarkable to the average eye. The once-in coin from Malaysia, dated 1996, is one of those rare and silent legends. This coin, small and copper-toned, was part of everyday life. It jingled in pockets, was handed over counters, and dropped into donation boxes. No one imagined that it could be anything more than spare change, but hidden among the regular coins minted in 1996 was something extraordinary. A rare variation of the once-in coin was produced in such limited numbers that its existence remained unknown for years. Only later did collectors begin to realize that a specific version of the 1996 once-in had unique features: tiny design shifts, a richer metallic tone, and sharper detailing on the emblem. At first glance, these differences were easy to miss, yet these small details made all the difference. They indicated a highly limited minting run, possibly a result of a test batch or transitional phase in the minting process. These rare coins quietly entered circulation, unnoticed. There were no press releases, no collector alerts, no announcements. They were used and forgotten, disappearing into the everyday flow of currency. Time moved on, and most of the coins were worn down, discarded, or melted. But a few survived, tucked away in old boxes, passed from one generation to another, quietly waiting to be rediscovered. It wasn't until keen-eyed numismatists began comparing different 1996 coins that the mystery began to unfold. They noticed that a small handful stood out in ways that could not be ignored. Investigations followed. Measurements were taken, magnification studied, and references checked. The findings confirmed what would become a numismatic revelation, a rare sub-issue of the 1996 1-cent coin. Collectors and historians alike were fascinated. What seemed like a common coin had now transformed into an item of extreme rarity, shrouded in mystery and limited by time. The coin's value rose quickly. Collectors across Southeast Asia, Europe, and North America began seeking it out. Finding even one became an obsession for many. This wasn't just about having a rare coin. It was about holding something that defied the ordinary. A piece of national history stamped into metal, carrying the legacy of a moment nearly forgotten. Each verified example became a treasure. Protected, displayed, and carefully preserved, these coins started appearing in private collections, exhibitions, and auction listings. Rumors of high-value sales began to circulate. Stories of lucky discoveries added to the allure. Every new detail uncovered added another layer to the legend. Eventually, one pristine specimen found its way to an elite private auction. The bidding was fierce, attracting serious collectors from around the world. The final hammer dropped at a staggering $1.87 million. That single coin, once worth just 1 cent, became one of the most valuable coins in Malaysian history. Its story captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. The truth is, there could still be more out there. In forgotten drawers, in old family piggy banks, resting quietly in a box of loose change. Waiting for someone to take a closer look. For those who dream of finding hidden treasures, the 1 cent 1996 is a powerful reminder. Great worth often wears the mask of the ordinary. But with patience and attention, the extraordinary is revealed. Top 2 in the world of coin collecting. Rarity is everything. Not every valuable coin is made of silver or gold. Sometimes, it's the small, copper-colored piece you once held in your hand without a second thought. One such coin is the 1 cent from Malaysia, dated 1997. This coin once lived a quiet life in everyday use. It was given as change in shops, exchanged at markets, and dropped into donation tins. No one imagined it would become one of the most talked about coins in Malaysian numismatic history, but like all great stories, the truth revealed itself over time. The 1 cent 1997, once dismissed as ordinary, began to show signs of being anything but common. Collectors first began noticing certain 1997 coins that didn't quite match the rest. The surface finish was smoother. The design appeared crisper. The thickness of the coin was slightly different. These weren't just coincidences. These small features told a much bigger story. They were the result of a limited and unusual minting run that few knew had ever taken place. As the mystery deepened, numismatists launched careful investigations. They compared dozens of specimens, reviewed mint records, and examined each detail under magnification. What they found changed everything. A specific type of the 1 cent 1997 had been produced in an incredibly low quantity. It's believed these coins were part of a short-run batch, possibly experimental or transitional in nature. Unlike regular coins, these rare versions were struck with superior clarity and slightly different dimensions. Over time, as regular coins wore away, these rare ones kept their original brilliance. The number of known surviving pieces remains extremely low. Most people who received these coins never knew they had something rare. They used them and moved on. Only a tiny number remained untouched. This coin's discovery caused a quiet storm in collector communities. People began to check old collections, dig through piggy banks, and look at their 1 cent coins with new eyes. Collectors who were lucky enough to find one had them certified and preserved. As word spread, demand surged. Private collectors and investors began making serious offers. Its rarity was matched only by its rising prestige. The story of how something so small could become so meaningful added to its mystique. Holding one felt like holding a secret from the past. Soon, auction houses started to take notice. One especially well-preserved 1 cent 1997 coin was offered at a private auction. Bidders came prepared, knowing this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After a tense and competitive round of bidding, the final price stunned even the most seasoned collectors. The coin was sold for $1.94 million. That price wasn't just for metal. It was for a piece of history, a fragment of national memory that had survived the passage of time with grace and rarity. The story doesn't end there. More of these rare coins may still be out there, sitting quietly in collections, waiting for someone to recognize their true value. They may be hidden in boxes of forgotten change, in old drawers, or family savings jars untouched for decades. Discovery is still possible. The once in 1997 stands as proof that even the smallest things can hold the greatest worth. Not just in currency, but in the story, the journey, and the rare spark that separates them from the rest. Top 1. In the quiet rhythm of everyday transactions, coins pass through countless hands unnoticed. But sometimes, a single coin carries a story so rare and powerful that it changes everything we thought we knew about its value. One such coin is the 10 sen from Malaysia, minted in 1999. At first glance, it looks like any other. A simple silver-colored coin, light in the palm, familiar in its design. But behind its ordinary appearance lies a secret that has captured the imagination of collectors across the world. The 10 sen 1999 wasn't expected to stand out. It was minted for daily use, part of a larger series that had been in circulation for years. No one imagined that this particular year would produce something extraordinary, but deep within that year's production, a small number of coins emerged with characteristics unlike the rest. These differences were subtle, invisible to the casual observer, but striking to those who knew what to look for. Experts began to notice slight variations in texture, weight, and metallic tone. Some coins had sharper detailing, a deeper strike, or an unusual surface reflection. These were the early signs of something rare. It soon became clear that a unique minting process had occurred. Whether due to experimental settings or a brief change in minting equipment, a limited batch of 10 sen coins had been produced that differed from the standard issue. These coins quietly entered the flow of daily currency. They were used to buy snacks, to pay for parking, to make exact change at the checkout. No one realized they were holding something of remarkable scarcity. It wasn't until years later that numismatists began piecing the puzzle together. Through comparison, verification, and testing, they confirmed that a distinct variant of the 10 sen 1999 had indeed been released in extremely small numbers. Unlike many rare coins, these weren't protected or preserved from the beginning. Most were exposed to everyday wear, lost over time, or discarded without recognition. Finding one in pristine condition became a monumental challenge. The few coins that survived in good condition were sent for professional grading. Their details were confirmed, their rarity certified, and their place in Malaysian coin history firmly established. What followed was a surge of interest. Collectors began searching far and wide. Coin dealers, auction houses, and private collectors all turned their attention toward this unexpected treasure. Each verified piece added to the growing fascination. Stories of chance discoveries emerged. One coin found in a dusty drawer. Another spotted in an old inherited collection. Each story added depth to the coin's legend. With so few known to exist, demand quickly began to outpace supply. This wasn't just about owning a rare coin, it was about holding a piece of history, a chapter from a year that quietly changed everything. Eventually, one exceptional specimen was offered at a private auction. It was nearly flawless, its surface untouched by time, its features bold and clear. Bidding began cautiously, but quickly escalated. The final price reached an astonishing $2.1 million. That number echoed across collector circles, making headlines and solidifying the coin's status as one of the most valuable pieces ever minted in Malaysia. This valuation wasn't driven by hype. It was backed by rarity, condition, historical interest, and the undeniable beauty of a coin that was never meant to be extraordinary, but became so by fate. Today, the 10 sen 1999 remains a mystery wrapped in metal. A silent reminder that value isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes, it whispers from the past, waiting to be heard by those who know how to listen. And maybe, just maybe, one of these rare coins is still out there. Tucked inside a forgotten wallet. Mixed in a jar of old change. Waiting to be found by someone who looks a little closer.